There we go. Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to the Correct Views. Semi B to Gangi doing political commentary for the media speaks. Hello, check, check, check. Is this mic working? Yes, it is. Very good. You can never be too safe around those things around here. All right, guys. Now that I'm sure that you can hear me, welcome to the show. Usually there's high def running, but lately Christelle has done more sleeping than camera operating, so there isn't going to be any HD. So the low def, you're it. I want to welcome you all aboard, and we're going to do something just a little bit different today. I'm going to let this run behind me while I do it. We're going to go ahead and do a show that you can bring your kids into the room for. Bring them into the room. We're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about Christmas. We're going to talk about who Santa Claus really was. And for those of you with little ones, don't worry, we're not going to dispel anything. This is a show. Bring your kids in for. This is something different for the correct views. It's all about Christmas. We have some negative things about Christmas. I'll post that later. I want to make sure that this gets seen before Christmas. So everybody come on in. Get your favorite treats. Get ready. We're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about who Santa Claus really was. Now, you might want to look this up online. St. Nicholas of Myra. I'm going to let this run behind me. You can see it on FactCam. And we're going to go ahead and talk about exactly who it is that St. Nicholas was. First of all, of course, the name. St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, Saint Claus was what it originally was when it was abbreviated. Kind of like you may call someone Jimmy, Jim, James. A way of saying Saint Nicholas was Saint Claus, and you can see where that ends up when the language is adopted as Santa Claus. Maria Santos is where it comes from, meaning saints, for those of you who speak Latin, particularly in your churches, perhaps. Saint Nicholas was a person who was native to Turkey, which meant that he was very likely dark-skinned. Not quite as round. Some people even said gaunt. He didn't gain weight until later, and nothing like he's normally portrayed of as today. And he was known for extreme acts of generosity, such as saving the righteousness of a couple of girls who had lived in the city of Myra. What happened was these girls had no money for a dowry. For those of you that may not know, that was the money that was needed to get married in that time period around 300 AD. If you didn't have that money, then you were forced into a life of slavery and unchaste behavior, and you had no choice over it. You didn't have the option to do the right thing. So what St. Nicholas did was he took his own gold and threw it in the window anonymously. And the people that lived there didn't know who did it. He simply knew that he didn't have to sell his daughters into slavery. He had two other daughters, and this act was repeated a number of years later. One of the things that made him a saint was, in order to be a saint, you have to have had a few confirmed miracles happen. When he was born, there were certain days that he would eat. That had been confirmed. The most stunning miracle that he did, or perhaps anyone had done, and it's important to note that this miracle was documented, that it was witnessed. Imagine if someone said they went down to the local restaurant near your house, let's say McDonald's. They went to McDonald's, and they brought somebody back from the dead. Well, that person was lying. It would be rather easy to prove it, because a number of people would say, no, I was there. That didn't happen at all. It's very hard, particularly in the days before the internet, which we're talking about here. It's very difficult to pull off a lie of this magnitude. What I'm talking about is three children went to an inn after working and had requested food, and the innkeeper and his wife had graciously given it to them. Unbeknownst to the children, they were killed and put into a barrel as meat. And of course, that was as repulsive back then as it is now. 7 years passed before St. Nicholas had come to the inn, and he was moved in the spirit to ask about he wanted meat from the very barrel that the children had been put in. The innkeepers ran from the place, but Santa Claus, as he became later, St. Nicholas, forgave them and raised the children from the dead, from the barrel. And of course, raising, we all know that acts like that are given sainthood when they are one of the miracles were to be seen, foretold by Christ. Of course, becoming sainthood, we know that he exists. We know that he was a real person. And he was at the Council of Nicaea. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's one of the most important meetings of minds in all of Christian church history. It is where they decided the divinity of Christ. They decided whether or not he was fully God and fully man at the same time. And Santa Claus was so adamant about the truth of the divine nature of Christ that after much haggling for many, many months with a fellow bishop that did not believe Christ was divine, it is documented that St. Nicholas struck the man in righteous indignation. He slapped him. This may be where a lot of the rumor comes from, of course, of the Krampus, which, of course, in Australia was said to travel with St. Nicholas to punish bad children. This is where it goes into legend. Prior to this, everything I've told you is actually historical fact. We know for sure that Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, was buried in Myra. His body was removed, believed to have been stolen. But the reason that they took it was because Islamists, were the equivalent of the ISIS today. They were a problem in that time as well. This was around, he died in the 3rd century. That would mean right around the 10th century. I'm going to say 1087. His body was stolen from its original burial place in Myra and moved to Italy. Well, the reason for that was because, much like ISIS does today, where they destroy ancient relics, wonderful art, pieces of antiquity from the past. This is a very good picture of St. Nicholas. They moved it so that the Islamists, or the equivalent of terrorists today, would not destroy the tomb. And they stole the body, and they wanted a church built to it. And to this day, between 70 and 75% of Santa Claus's bones reside in Italy. Some are in the original tomb in Myra. And again, we know that the Council of Nicaea listed him as an actual member. We know that it was true. We know that a number of sailors have said that they had reported him and that he calmed the seas, another one of the miracles found in the Bible. Descriptions of him tend to match up very well. Historically, the historical record for him was very strong, so he very much existed. He was a very real person, and he was a very good person. When he died, how many of you would know about this happened about, I want to say, within the last 30 or 40 years. St. John of San Francisco is an Orthodox saint, and he was such a good person that his body has never rotted. It doesn't rot. It was never embalmed. It was never cured in any way. The body sits in a church and doesn't rot. You can look it up. It's St. John of San Francisco. You can look it up very easily, or you can just go and see him because he is, after all, in a glass column. Something similar happened many, many centuries, decades, centuries ago now, at the death of St. Nicholas. His body exhumed myrrh. For those of you with a touch of history, you know that frankincense, myrrh, gold, silver, and a few other precious items were given to Christ on his birth. It is said that this myrrh healed a number of illnesses and diseases. And the interesting thing about this was quackery was very big at the time. So if something didn't work, it spread very, very quickly. Snake oil sales did not get very far in that time period. If something didn't work and someone died, it was well known. His bones literally bled or oozed myrrh upon his death. And there's actually a jar of the myrrh in the museum that is now part of his resting place in Italy. Years later, of course, we all know that Santa Claus was somewhat revisited in a story that an author wrote for his ailing daughter. And that is where we get many of the stories that we get today. But even many years ago, nuns would give out candy on Christmas Eve, and it became a legend that Santa Claus had done it in many instances. And if you would find candy in your shoes if you were good, you would find salt in your shoes if you were believed to be too old to be doing such things, and you would receive a broom if you were a bad child. Also, again, the rumor of the Krampus came from that, where Krampus came to punish sometimes rather severely the disobedient children. That, my friends, is the actual story of Santa Claus. That is historically correct who Saint Nicholas is, and he was to the church. So when you hang your stockings by the chimney with care, and you talk about Saint Nicholas coming, I hope you realize with great joy exactly who it is that he was and what he was doing, and the kind of genuine kind-heartedness that came with the man. And this carries on today. It's not completely vanished from modern society or modern world in any way. I thought this was nice. Listen to this, New American. Moving examples of generosity this Christmas season, each Christmas season. The American people showcase their generosity with incredible stories of charity and giving. Well, listen to this. One of them comes out of Cumming, Georgia, where a waitress at Red Robin named Meredith Gross received an extremely generous tip so that she could give her daughter a special Christmas. She's a single mother. She's worked at the Red Robin, it says, for years. And she had mentioned to some regular customers that she had a 4-year-old daughter. On a $4.27 check, they left her a $200 tip. They did it so that she could get her daughter an Elsa doll from the movie Frozen. And since the doll is quite a bit less than $200, it will allow her to cover other expenses during the holiday season. That the doll is like 35 bucks. They were able to make the Christmas better than ever expected, Chris said. And one day, I really hope that I can do something like that. Another inspiring story. I don't even know if this mic is on in here. Another inspiring story comes from Grand Junction, Colorado, where pop music icon Taylor Swift, her music is terrible, but this is awesome, surprised a young cancer patient with an early Christmas present by carving out some time from her schedule for a December 19th visit. Delaney Clements, age 13, moved into hospice care days after a 5-year-long battle with cancer. That's awful. Usually when you go to hospice, oftentimes, usually you don't get out. Billboard.com reports that Clements had developed a following on Instagram after she was diagnosed in 2010. Delaney caught Swift's attention after Delaney began to trend on Twitter with the Pound Delaney sign. On the 19th, Clements recalls that she was preparing to take a nap when her mother said that she had a visitor. Expecting the visitor to be a friend or family member, Delaney was stunned to discover that the visitor was Taylor Swift. And they exchanged Instagram messages, took selfies, and it was something very moving for the child. Literally speechless right now, she wrote on her Instagram. My new best friend, as I'm going to call her, has made a special trip on the way to Tennessee. Back in Northwest Delaware, strangers in Camden, Delaware, scraped together enough money to give veterans special Christmas surprise. James Pack suffered a heart attack in September and forced him to be hospitalized for several months. Delaware State News reports with no more to care for his 2 dogs, he ended up, dogs were taken by the SPCA. After the heart attack, he suffered an infection that rendered the left side of his throat paralyzed and his left side. He could barely speak, but he regularly called to check on his dogs. When he found out it was going to cost him $210 to get them out when he got out early this month in December, he said he was going to sell his car. The people there raised the money to get his dogs out so that when he came back, I hope he didn't sell his car. He didn't need to give them the check. They gave him personalized dog biscuits, and they gave him they basically paid for everything the dog would need from quite some time. And you can see a video of him throwing his hands heavenward with great joy. Um, More inspiration, Central PA, where an anonymous donor made Christmas a little brighter for struggling families on December 14th, like 9 days ago. Secret Santa paid off $180,000 worth of layaway items at two different Pennsylvania Walmarts, one in Silver Springs Township and the other in Swatara, Pennsylvania. The anonymous donor, known only as Santa B, has started to make a habit of this, having paid off $50,000 worth of layaways last year. According to Stephen Myers, store manager at the Silver Spring location, Santa B stated that his business was successful and that he wanted to give back to the community. And that was between 300 to 400 layaways. Tracy Folks told ABC 27 that it had been a tough year and she had gone to cancel her layaway, and she wanted to thank whoever did that. So we're not devoid of Christmas joy today. It's just that you're not allowed to talk about it. You're supposed to be so unbelievably politically correct where, you know what, I'm not going to do that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and make this more appropriate. How's this? We'll change the lower third. Why? Because we'll leave it up now. It's already on. Friends, there are so many things that are going on. Texas restaurant chain touts politically incorrect holiday policy. abcnews.go.com. This is wonderful news. Epic win right here. Epic win. Listen to this. One restaurant chain in Texas is warning customers that it may offend them by being too politically incorrect this holiday season. I just got tired of the news of everybody having to be politically correct. Berry Hill Baja Grill CEO Jeff Annan told ABC News, so make sure you go to Berry Hill Baja Grill. The chain restaurant posted signs outside its 9 Texas location about 2 weeks ago that read, "Notice. The store is politically incorrect. We say Merry Christmas, God bless America. We salute our flag and give thanks to our troops, police officers, and firefighters. If this offends you, you are welcome to leave. In God we trust." God bless him. Annan said that that the last straw for him was the criticism, often we heard on the news, that erupted in social media last month over Starbucks' red holiday-themed coffee cups. We covered that here. Look up correct views Starbucks coffee. There's nothing wrong with saying Merry Christmas in lieu of Happy Holidays. When people say Merry Christmas, they're being nice, Annan said, adding that he's Jewish. We're not trying to be politically incorrect or have religious beliefs. The restaurants have been decorated with festive holiday decor, including Hanukkah decorations, and Anna said that for every negative response to the signs, there are hundreds of positive ones. I bet there are. It's a microcosm of why Trump is surging. Look at that sign there on fact. The outpouring of support has been absolutely terrific. We're actually getting a lot of requests from people to get the signs. He said some people say that you shouldn't take religion into the workplace. We're not trying to bring religion into the workplace. It has nothing to do with religion. It is the spirit of the holidays. So way to go there. Make sure you go to Berry here, Baja Grill, and let CEO Jeff Annan know. He's amazing. And friends, that does in fact bring us to the DUMBDEE of the day. The DUMBDEE of the day. Yes. If I still have anyone listening, again, I don't talk down to children. You notice the way I gave the Santa Claus report. I was tactful, but I don't talk down to children. Well, I'm also not going to pretend it's only children that play video games. I love video games. My wife, Christelle, all she does is video games. 24/7, her phone is video games. Well, let this be a warning to you as our DUMBDEE of the day, or news.yahoo.com. Gamer sues Bethesda after losing his wife and job to Fallout 4 addiction. That is a game, for those of you that don't know. No matter how much time you've spent with Fallout 4 since it launched last month, it probably has a big impact on your life, as it has one gamer from Russia. According to the report from RT, the 28-year-old man is suing Bethesda, the developer of the game, for 500,000 rubles, about $7,000, after losing his job and his wife. He says that he didn't know that the game could be so addictive. Apparently, after seeing an advertisement for the game, The man quickly downloaded it and spent a few hours playing it over the next few days. Those days quickly turned into weeks, and after missing several days of work, he was fired from his job. His friends stopped hearing from him, his sleeping and eating habits deteriorated, and his wife left him in just a few weeks, no less. So it must have, just been the game. If I knew that this game could become so addictive, I would have become a lot more wary of it. I would not have bought it. I would not have left it until the holiday or until the New Year's. So the man said in the statement, why don't you just shut the game off? It's real easy. Don't turn it on. Although there have been similar cases around the world in the past, this is the first for Russia. So the law firm representing the Fallout 4 addict is going to see if he can, what he can do regarding the case. In other words, he was too stupid to shut the game off and is trying to blame somebody other than himself. That, friends, is in fact the DUMBDEE of the day. Do me a favor, friends. You can donate to the show if you want to at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. Every penny you give to me goes towards a better show. Do make sure you share it with one and all. Let people know I'm out of here. Let people know the show is going on. And Merry Christmas, friends. Good night. God bless. Brought to you by Change Transportation.